So welcome back to another video here on the channel where I upload every single day. So like I said this in some previous videos, I will be going back to 4 videos a day. That was just like a surprise thing I did. My usual thing was 3 videos a day, but I'm gonna stick with 4 videos a day. So today we'll be looking at 10 Batman movies that never got made, and I got 11th one to put in there too at the end of the video. So the first we're looking at is Ivan Reitman's The Batman. After the 1970 Superman movie directed by Richard Donner, by the way, I'm going to be ranking all the Superman Batman movies soon. Stay tuned for that. Famously made the world believe a man could fly. One of the screenwriters reportedly for the film was soon drafted to take a crack at Gotham City's brooding vigilante. Given his work on nearby half a dozen James Bond films, safe to assume the late screenwriter Tom McKenzie would have given us a grittier version of the Cape Crusader than the campy 1960 TV series. I believe he would have too. His script was poorly inspired by Steve Adlahar and Marshall Rogers' fan favorite Detective Comics run. Bright spot in the 70s comics screen. Can't talk, apologize. Um, where was I? That lost my spot. A bright spot in the 70s comic book scene that brought Batman to a new heights. Once Ghostbusters director Ivan Reitman came on board, Bill Murray was rumored to start going up against David Bowie as the Joker. Bill Murray as the Joker, I don't see it, but David Bowie, yeah. I think David Bowie would have given us a pretty interesting Joker. I would actually like to see that. David Bowie as the Joker. Eddie Murphy was one of the names thrown around as a potential Robin. Yeah, they would. They didn't want to do nothing serious because Eddie Murphy is a comedian. Gonna put that just there. Eddie Murphy was one of the. I just can't believe he was going to be Robin. But anyways, Warner ordered multiple rewrites with various writers, which is funny considering that McKenzie himself served as a go go-to scriptor for the studio, punching up Gremlins, The Goonies, and War Games, even after the vision of Batman collapsed. Bill Murray was still in consideration for Tim Burton's Batman before Michael Keaton was cast. Michael Anessa rumored. So yeah. I don't know if I would have Ivan Reitman's Batman, I don't know if I would have liked to see that. Because the whole basically making Robin a comedian. I don't know how I feel about that. This is the one that I would have liked to see right here. Tim Burton's Batman Forever. Speaking of Tim Burton, the third entry in the successful franchise, The Visioneer, I swear I can't read and apologize. Filmmaker kicked off with 1989's Batman and continued with 1992's Batman Returns. Was originally his for the taking, though Bill D. Williams had already appeared as Bert Harvey Dent. The Riddler would have been only villain in Burton's vision of Batman Forever. With the late Robin Williams at the top of the list for the role, he would actually have been a good choice. Burton was keen to introduce Marilyn Wayans as Robin, in his third film, which almost happened in Batman Returns. Ultimately, when Warner decided to lighten up the tone of the franchise with the new director, and Keaton walked from the project. Wayne's was cut as well, though he was famously still paid, which is interesting. So I would have actually liked to see Tim Burton's Batman Forever. It kind of seemed like Tim Burton was kind of going to take a different approach with Batman this go around, and even take a different approach at filmmaking he never did before. Joe Schumacher's Batman Unchained. Really glad this one never happened, and this one's like really long. Joe Schumacher's Batman Unchained. I think this one is the most like recognizable one when you think of canceled Batman movies. Like Tim Burton, Lost Boys director Joe Schumacher had 2 Batman films serving as a sequel to Burton's films. I don't think those are sequels to Tim Burton, my opinion. Rather than going the reboot route. Batman Forever with Val Kilmer in the lead was certainly less strange and more family-friendly than Batman Returns, while still maintaining a bit of balance. But Schumacher's follow-up George Clooney's Bruce Wayne stalled the franchise, steering Hollywood away from big-budget superhero movies altogether. For a minute, a notoriously campy Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Batgirl, and Bat Nipples were among the many problems that Batman and Robin missed failure. Of course, prior to the release, the franchise was doing well, and after the third Schumacher film seemed like a given. A script was already in place, one that would have seen Scarecrow as a villain, and a move towards um, the Strange. Batman Unchained often refers as Batman Triumphant by fans. Would have introduced Harley Quinn, possibly played by either Courtney Love or Madonna. Schumacher wanted Nicolas Cage to play his main villain, and a story that would see Batman locked inside Arkham Asylum, which that sounds awesome, locked in Arkham Asylum. As Scarecrow dosed him with a fear gas, Scarecrow would have brought back every single Batman villain from the previous films in the big hallucination set piece where Batman was put on trial by his rogues gallery, which sounds pretty cool. Penguin, Catwoman, Riddler, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy will all be on hand. Culminating on screen return Jack Nicholson as the Joker. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Joe Schumacher was going to make up for his mistakes, but was he though? Because what villain would Nicolas Cage play? Number one, Nicolas Cage could play like a Riddler, even a Joker type character. I feel like yeah, like Nicolas Cage could play a Joker type character. A lot of people may disagree with that, but I feel like yeah, he could play a Joker, Joker character. Um, but could Joe Schumacher actually give us what we want and not the studio, if the studio would let him? And now that's not that campy stuff. I feel like Warner Brothers would have pushed him to do something more darker, considering the fact um, Joe Schumacher's Batman Dark Knight. Studio let Batman Trial writers Stephen Wins and Leo Sharpen take another crack at the script, but Schumacher directed the sequel. They kept Scarecrow as the villain, adding Dr. Langstrom, aka Man-Bat, as well. There were talks of Trent Stamp playing the role. Stamp, of course, was General Zod in 1980's Superman 2. Batman Dark Knight was in development for a couple of years. In 2015, Lee Wise actually made the screenplay available to the public on Amazon and other retailers. That's pretty interesting, and I never really knew about that one, but that's kind of interesting. Joe Schumacher's, they really love Joe Schumacher. They really loved this man. Joe Schumacher's Dark Knight Returns. For a moment there, Schumacher nearly had Warner Bros. Convinced to let him that Frank Miller's gritty graphic novel series. I'm glad he didn't. Because I feel like Joe Schumacher didn't. That don't seem like Joe Schumacher's niche. But hey, it may have been. Dark Knight Returns about an aging Batman in near future Gotham City. We basically got the Dark Knight Returns with Batman v Superman, and I love Batman v Superman. Not the theatrical cut, I prefer the director's cut of Batman v Superman. He reportedly wanted Clint Eastwood to play his senior citizen Batman. I don't see Clint Eastwood as Batman. Yeah, maybe as Bruce, but not as Batman. I think too, would Clint Eastwood want to be in the Batman suit? You would have to hire like a stunt double to do the scene. That's kind of ridiculous. David Bowie's name came up for the Joker once again, too. Again, I think, I can't talk, apologize. I do think David Bowie, can't talk. I think David Bowie would have did a good job as the Joker. I do think that. At this point, the iconic pop star was 52 years old, which would have been perfect. There was even talks of bringing Michael Keaton to maybe play Batman. That is so confusing. So there's two Bat. I mean, I get it, but in the Dark Knight Returns, there's not two Bat. Joe Schumacher is strange. But again, Joe Schumacher did this thing that I liked, the whole courtroom thing, like in that. Okay, cool. But, anyway. Bozo Guinan's Batman Beyond. I've always wanted a Batman Beyond movie, and I'll be 100%. I'll be honest. we're never going to get a Batman Beyond. Mainly because Warner Brothers, they're too scared to do anything that's Batman Beyond. Obviously, if you know Batman Beyond, it's not Bruce Wayne, it's Terry McGinnis. They even canceled a very awesome sounding Batman Beyond game. If they canceled a game, they were probably never going to get a live action movie. Because Warner Brothers is scared, which is strange. But that's them. In the summer 2016, rumors kicked into high gear. Ben Affleck has signed on to make an entire trilogy Batman film. This was the one. So I'm gonna finish. I remember he took over the standalone to film the Batman. I'm gonna talk more about this after I'd like to do this list. Originally to be written and directed by Affleck himself, I remember. The trilogy was set to set up Batman Beyond. That would have been awesome, man. The futuristic story of a younger Batman protege, mentioned by Bruce Wayne. This makes sense given that Affleck was already in his 40s when he first appeared as the character. See, like Ben Affleck even had a way of, passing the torch down, but obviously Warner Brothers fired him. Um, as a younger Batman protege mentioned by Bruce, Affleck was already in his 40s when he was first appeared as the character. But a Batman Beyond film nearly happened a long time ago. Back when the success of Batman Beyond television series was fresh in studios' minds, co-creators Alan Brenner and Paul Dini were tasked with writing a live-action adaptation of Terry McGinnis' character story. That's all. For Remember the Titans director Bonza included Yanka first mentioned character credited was for another comic book film. He wrote the script for Marvel's 1980 version of The Punisher, which starred Dolph Lundgren. Darren Aronofsky, Batman Year One. Eventually, Warner Bros. Decided the best way to handle Batman was to reboot the character altogether. Going for an origin story, Schumacher decided to mine some of Frank Miller's comic book material must have made an impression, as the reboot idea was eventually set to center around Miller's Batman Year One. The studio hired Miller to work out what became a typical Miller-inspired script filled with adult themes and violence. They paired him with co-writer-director Darren Aronofsky. Fresh off Pi, years later, Miller would recount to a reporter that Aronofsky's take on the character was even darker than his was. The story two of them cooked up certainly would have been R-rated. That I'm going to talk more. That's interesting because that would get made today. But I'll talk about that in a minute. And was unlikely to center the massive surrounding the franchise. They rewrote much of Batman's origin, even departing from Year One. Aronofsky would later decide his take as a death wish for the fresh Kenneth meets Batman. He saw Jim Gordon as a Scorpion, Batman as someone like Taxi Driver's Travis Bullock later. Aronofsky almost had another hard-edged superhero movie, The Wolverine. Number one, I've been wanting a R-rated Batman movie. Now, you could do a lot with a R-rated Batman movie. You think, well, what can you do? There could be more fight scenes, more violent fight scenes. The villains can be villains. They could do more stuff. Again, Warner Brothers doesn't like to take risks. Again, with the Joker film, that was rated R. Made millions of dollars at the box office, but Warner Brothers never believed in that project because it was a risk. Birds of Prey, it took Margot Robbie. It took years for Warner Brothers to see her vision. Then it took another whole years for her to get it R-rated. So Warner Brothers never believed in the two big, in these two big properties, that being the Joker and Birds of Prey. Warner Brothers never believed in them. So could we have gotten a R-rated Batman? I think yes. I think Warner Brothers would have rolled the dice, considering the success of the Joker. Yes, I feel like an alternate take on Batman that's R-rated where the villains could do a lot more and etc. And there's more fight scenes. Yes, I really do think a Batman Year One R rated must certainly get made today. That would most certainly be a go. Like if all of this was announced today, it will be a go right now. And to be completely honest, I do hope Robert Pattinson's Matt Reeves Batman. I hope Matt Reeves' Batman film will be R-rated. I just want an R-rated Batman movie. My opinion is the villains can do a lot more. Batman can do a lot more. Bruce can do a lot more. It's more freedom, in my opinion. The what is the Batman? I can't pronounce. I'm bad at certain names, and this one I'm bad at. Thanks to The Matrix, Warner Bros. Flirted with the idea of having the W name direct Batman Year One, including years before he helped finish Justice League and had Batgirl in development. Joss Whedon was in the mix for Batman 2. I think it was made for Joss Whedon to never make that project because we saw how Joss Whedon handled Batman in Justice League. I just gotta take a pause for that. Again, Joss Whedon, he fits with Marvel. He doesn't fit with Batman. I never knew that Joss Whedon was considered for Batman all the way back to the Matrix days. Never knew that. I mean, thank God Joss Whedon didn't touch Year One. I mean, Joss Whedon touched Justice League, and look how that turned out. That's for a whole nother story. Wolfgang Peterson, Batman vs Superman. This is notorious. If you've seen the movie, I think it's Legion. I'm pretty sure the film is called Legion, but it's a film where Will Smith, and it may say this in the article, but it's a film where like Will Smith has this like dog and he's like going around the world and it's like the apocalypse. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's a big Batman v Superman logo. They was promoting this movie in movies. That was so awesome. While all these various ideas was getting kicked around, there was eventually a Batman v Superman movie in development, more than a decade before the release of the one we got. There had been a There had been a Superman movie since 1987, Superman: The Quest of Peace. Tim Burton nearly made his Superman with Nicolas Cage. As a chronicle in the documentary The Dead Superman Lives, what happened? Chris Angels and music video director MCJ, Rush Hour franchise head Brett Runner, and showrunner J.J. Abrams of TV's Aliens were all involved with the Superman various stages. With Weather eventually swamping franchises, better or worse, X-Men director Bryan Singer rather made X-Men The Last Stand, and Singer was able to finally get the Man of Steel back off the ground with Superman Returns. But around 2002, the trades were abuzz with talks of the Air Force director Wolfgang Peterson Batman Superman. It was supposed to shoot in 2003 for release the following year. Kevin Walker decided to reportedly developed a reportedly dark script, which studio had rewritten, who had worked on both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Lex Luthor and Joker were the main villains, makes sense. Matt Damon, Jade Law, and Christian Bale were some of the names starting off the two leads. Eventually, the studio decided they'd rather relaunch each character separately. Wolfgang Peterson moved on to direct Brad Pitt and Troy. I think that's kind of interesting. Back then, Warner Brothers didn't want a cinematic universe rushed, you know what I mean? But when we got to Batman v Superman, the one we got, and when we got to Justice League, they wanted to rush that franchise. You know, I feel like that's kind of George Miller's Justice League Mortal. Again, another infamous one. You can actually find concepts of George Miller's Justice League. Like you can find concepts, you could like see the bat suit. Last but certainly not least, and I have one more. That's not on the list. Last but certainly not least, there was almost a Justice League movie in 2009 before we knew awesome Mad Max Fury Road, George Miller was set to direct Justice League Mortal. from a script by Karen and Mitchell, a husband and wife team who wrote Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows together. The storyline sounds a bit like a plot to Avengers: Age of Ultron. Like Tony Stark, Batman creates a bunch of robots to protect the world, but nearly they turn evil. What is possibly the most interesting about Justice League Moral is how many heroes would have been included. DJ Kuro, who went to play Flint in GI Revelation as Superman, Amy Hermer from the Social Network's Batman, Army. Yeah, so I apologize. Um, um, Hammer was going to play Batman. Again, you can find pictures of him in the Batman suit. So Army Hammer. I still think he'd do a good Batman, but he was supposed to play Batman. Wonder Woman had been played by Australian model Megan Gow, who Miller ended up casting as Valak in the Fury Road. Adam Brody from the OC as the Flash. Rapper / actor Common as Green Lantern. Santo as heroes from Aquaman, originally Mad Max Hughes would have played Martian Hunter. He ended up playing the main bad guy in Fury Road. Joe Bastet, comedian actor Jane was cast as businessman Max Lord with Tessa Plum Ray Shao Ghul. Again, he can't read now, it's a lot to read. While all these material, okay, but around 2002, the trades, where did my pointer go? Oh, it went back up. Sorry about that. Fans have long salvo over concept art. Yep, sculptures and storyboards to Justice League more, which is never made due to numbers of factors, including the writer's strike, which prevented rewrites from happening in time to make the studio decide 2009 release. Like